Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly reading of Nietzsche's The Gay Science. We're beginning this week with poem number 35, Ice. Yes, at times I do make ice, for it helps us to digest. If you had much to digest, you would surely love my ice.
The German um, translation is Eis. Eis, E-I-E-I-S. German, ja. Mitunter mach ich Eis. Nützlich ist Eis zum Verdauen. Hättet ihr zu viel zu verdauen, oh wie liebt ihr mein Eis. It's pretty much one-to-one.
Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. Was
What is the ice?
ice? Yeah, was ice a common help for, or like considered helpful for digestion at the time? I don't really know medical practice at the time or medical fads from the uh, 18,
Yeah, because like
1880s.
refrigeration is pretty new at this point, right? There's refrigeration.
Um,
Google that one.
mm, it depends, I think, because there was like refrigeration where you collect ice during the winter and store it like in a cellar. I think they'd been doing that since medieval times, at least like selectively,
Mm-hmm.
maybe for like a wealthy person's, uh, I don't know, like food stores or something. I don't know the specifics, but I think it was, I think it happened, pretty early. So I don't, but,
Right.
in terms
There
of,
were big ice trades, like
ah,
to fill caves and cellars and stuff. Like it became like a trade to develop cold chains, apparently, prior to like electrical refrigeration.
fascinating. Okay, yeah.
Huh.
But in terms of helping with digestion, I don't really know what.
Yeah, not my.
I'm doing a quick Google search right now to see if there's any uses of the time. I'm not seeing anything right now, but I'll look for a couple more minutes because I really have no idea what this could be referring to, at least for the ice part.
Yeah, so like more in like a metaphorical sense, ice is like a chilling, maybe like a slowing down. We could think of it as that. I but I mean, so you could read it uh as sort of like a slowing down for digestion, but I don't know how much I want to read
Yeah,
into
or as
that.
a digestive of some kind. Whether it slows it down, it might just help it pass, right? I don't know.
Were they like eating ice cubes? Like what? I mean, I guess it wouldn't have really been a cube, but like crushed ice.
Just
Or would
imagining
it be
someone
like,
trying to read Nietzsche for the first time with a giant brain freeze.
or or like would ice have been like slang for ice cream? I kind of doubt that, but like crushed ice with fruit, I don't like maybe they would have been referring to if you're making ice. It kind of sounds like you're making a dish. I doubt he's like freezing it because there wouldn't have been refrigeration. So maybe it's a dish of like crushed ice and fruit, which I could
It
see
would be
that.
This is a bit
pretty
off there, but you
extravagant.
could have a digestive liqueur over ice after a meal.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's actually quite common for like
Yeah,
Germany and Italy and yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
France.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. The closest thing is that it was used for like sweet treats and stuff around the time, and it was used. They used ice the same way we use ice for treatments, which is like as like a cold compression. But I can't find anything directly that is used as like a remedy. But I think JQE is probably the closest to what would be the direct parallel there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
May I? Hello, guys. Sorry.
Hello.
Can I intervene or
Oh,
talk?
yeah, of course.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone's welcome to
Um,
talk.
Thank you very much. Anyway, I haven't read Nietzsche in English, but I've read Gay Science a long time ago, and if I recall correctly, in in one of his small books that he wrote while walking, which was called Man Alone by Himself, I remember the name should be. He did actually talk about something that does to me click exactly with this part, which is one of you talked about the medical uses of it, and of course, Nietzsche did use, and he's actually the first one, if I remember, if I recall correctly, to move the vocabularies of philosophy from like abstract or whatever to be more medical and warfare and whatever.
Right.
So in that exactly, he did use ice for two things in Man Alone with Himself.
Interesting.
It was it was for one was exactly what he meant. If I understood it, is that because they have put too much into the self or I, as novelists would put it, or for example, Schelling, which is that they already put too much to the I, that it's become swollen. The I has but I meaning myself has eaten too much, that it's now swollen, and the coldness. That's why in that book, Nietzsche wants humans to be more like fish. And fish is this kind of coldness where they have no self. They live with no self. That's what, yeah, that's what I don't know if this is what you were guys discussing about, but yeah.
An interesting piece of secondary literature that seems to be published by Edinburgh University Press that we can maybe take a look at after, that goes into possibly some of I don't know if this is exactly what I'm looking for, but it talks about Nietzsche and digestion, so we can maybe take a peek at that later.
That's a great comment. Thank you for jumping in. And please do again.
Thank you. But yeah, sorry guys, if just a heads up, I've already said when I joined this group, I haven't been speaking English for a while. I mean, I've only started like 2 years ago, so my English might be not that good, especially regarding philosophy, because I read all of my philosophers in different languages, and yeah, that's why yeah. Thank you.
Your English is great.
Yeah, you're
It's great.
very easily understandable. All good. With that, we'll move on to number 36. Juvenilia. My youthful wisdom's A's and O's. I heard again. What did I hear? Words not of wisdom, but of woe. Only the endless ah and oh of youth lies heavy in my ear.
Jugendschriften. Meiner Weisheit A und O. Klang mir hier, was hört ich doch? Jetzt so klingt mir's nicht mehr so. Nur das ewige A und O meiner Jugend hör ich noch. Pretty well translated. Final line is very, very slightly different, but the meaning is it's what is being. Meiner Jugend hör ich noch. I still listen to my youth.
What are A's and O's? I feel like that's is that an old grading system? I can't quite remember. Ah, there's a note here. A and O, alpha and omega. Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Oh, right, yeah.
Beginning
So
and end of
Kaufman notes R and or alpha and omega, the beginning and the end, or the be all and end all.
right. Probably should have guessed that based upon his philological background. But yeah, great. Okay, thank you, Coffin. So my youthful wisdom's alpha and omega. I heard again. What did I hear? Not of wisdom, but of woe. Only the endless ah and o of youth lies heavy in my ear. What a great little piece.
Yeah, like playing with that like R and O as an omega, like a sort of far more clever reading of those. You know, the philologist sort of deeper take, but then also the rest. What's the word for words that sound like what they sound like when you say them? You know, this sort of when you're sort of listening and taking in things.
Right, almost like
The
an
interplay between
onomatopoeia.
that. Yeah, that's the one. Bingo. Sorry, too early in the morning.
Unless anyone has something super important to add, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. So I'll move on unless
The only
there's.
thing I might add, is it possible to read it instead of awe and oh, like kind of like an excitement, like an intrigue, instead of as painful? Like, because it's weird to kind of read that into the line, but the line before that and the line after that feel like is leading in that direction.
It reads to me. I mean, I think it could be read as ah and o of pain. It could be
It's
read
tough
like
because
three different ways. Like you could read it like on O of pain. You could read it like on O of like whimsy. You could read it like on O as more of like blowing hot air, almost.
yeah, that's
Like
it's
oh.
also it sounds so nice in the English. I just wonder if there's a certain like context we're slightly missing from the German that would clarify which of those three it would be.
It is. There are exclamation marks in the German that were not kept.
That's a good point. On second last line.
So that definitely sounds more like expletives if they have exclamation marks after them.
And it is also given as the endless, and that is correct. Ewige.
So I think
So it's sort of like incessant, almost like a complaint, maybe, or a no. But I like the idea of like giving it a whimsical reading as well. Like almost like in my mind, I kind of go to sort of like almost like this Disney-esque kind of thing where, you know, someone is in a forest and it's got all the tree creatures around them and they're explaining the hardships of what they've just escaped from the tree creatures, and the tree creatures are all enraptured and I realize this is silly, but like I'm trying to think of a more not necessarily whimsical-ish direction for the reading.
The only
what
reason I
word
would kick back was because it says words not of wisdom but of woe, and then immediately lines into that. So it feels like that's more of a painful reading,
Yeah,
and then
what
lies
word is
heavy
being
on
used
my
for
ear.
woe that's being translated as woe here? Sorry to talk over you.
That was it.
What
Jetzt
word
so
is being
klingt's mir nicht mehr so. Woe is technically sort of inserted.
Okay.
Yeah, so meiner Weisheit A und O is basically one to one. Klangt mir hier, colon, so klang mir hier, it sounds to me, colon, as in the sound thus is. Was hört ich doch? Oh, what I hear. Jetzt klingt's mir nicht mehr so. Now it doesn't sound this way anymore. Nur only the endless A und O.
Yeah, that makes me read it way more like I said sort of earlier, almost like the breathy, the breathiness, right? Like it's more of the like the noises rather than necessarily of the like pain or other things that we might read into it otherwise.
Right. Now I'm almost imagining it
I
being
would
said with
just,
heavy
I,
breath, like Nietzsche walking. You know, he's on a trail and he's taking steps up, and he's passing this wisdom off onto you. And every step, there's like an exhale. Sorry, I talked over something there.
I would kind of think of this as possibly an allusion to the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible, which is sometimes described as a wisdom that is woe. And it's the book of the Old Testament that is the most existential. And then in the bit before, you just had him do the Alpha and Omega. They're both like, could be like Bible references.
Yeah, it could be. As we said, I think woe was kind of inserted. I'm trying to. It's maybe a little bit more difficult to read that into it if woe was inserted. But I think it's an interesting connection. Especially with Alpha and Omega.
I want to continue to encourage those who've got a religious, ecumenical, etc. background. Please keep piping up. I know nothing. Like, I'm awful at these kinds of bends and bows. So, I remember like a comment from several reading sessions ago where someone was reminding us which animals appeared in the Old Testament that were being mentioned and which ones were kosher and which ones were not. Things like this. So please, yeah, keep piping up.
Well, you guys probably know that Nietzsche was the son of a pastor, like a
Yeah.
kind of Protestant preacher man, so deeply familiar with the scripture.
Yeah, he even studied to be a pastor, I believe.
Yeah.
37.
Yeah, I'm just looking over the translation again, just to make sure we didn't miss anything more. Okay. Well, glad we checked that one, I guess. Thank you for the question, Weljan. Number 37, caution. I can't actually make out what that is on this scan. Let's see. That region is not safe for strangers, and having wit doubles the dangers. Man locked. Oh. They lure and love you, then tear you to bits. They are enthusiasts, and that type lacks wits.
Und 30 Vorsicht. In jener Gegend reist man jetzt nicht gut, und hast du Geist, sei doppelt auf der Hut. Man lockt und liebt dich, bis man dich zerreißt. Warngeister sind, da fällt das stets an Geist. Da fällt es stets an Geist. This is the banger as well.
I wish you wouldn't split them up over these lines like this. It makes it very difficult to read, especially because there's German and English, so you end up going across 4 pages.
Typographer's nightmare. Typesetter's nightmare.
How are you feeling about the translation for this one?
Pretty good. In jener Gegend reist man jetzt nicht gut. There's a play with the rhyming on reist. Reist here is to travel. But it's being used in the follow-up zerreißt, which is to tear, to pull apart. He's using that for the double, like he's using it in the one sense for travel, and then zerreißt for ripping apart, to get the rhyming. But with the like hard rolling R in German, it punches through the lines really well. Yeah, und hast du Geist, sei doppelt auf der Hut. Having wit doubles the dangers. It's the simplified translation of that line. Effectively, if you have spirit, wenn du Geist hast, doubly on your watch.
Yeah, I don't like that. Oftentimes it seems like Kaufman arbitrarily removes the word. Like, he'll translate the word Geist as a lot of different words without really noting it. I wish he at least noted down when he's translating Geist as different things, because it's pretty important both for philosophy generally and for Nietzsche. Spirit, right?
Yep. Some of the worst translations prior to Kaufman, I think, in like especially things like Genealogy of Morals, really bugger this up, where like Geist and soul and self and words like this are all being kind of like interchangeably translated.
Yeah, it's not quite that bad, but it is.
Yeah, no, it's not that
noting.
bad. Yeah, the translation here is very good and keeps it rhyming. Despite, said like word changing around kind of thing, but it rhymes.
So, what region do we think he's talking about? Like, do we think he's talking about a literal place, or like an intellectual domain, or something different? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
The only thing because the region was like, I have no idea either, but it seems to me if we interrogate what wit, or as we were just talking about, Geist is meaning to, where would it be more dangerous to be having in having that as a possession? I think that could help elucidate what that region is referring to.
Yeah. Apologies for all the scrolling back and forth. They lure you and love you, then tear you to bits. Like this makes me think of Nietzsche's own intellectual history of being like the youngest philologist, and then sort of being very quickly becoming like an outcast among his peers, right? He went from being lauded to being really not well understood or regarded by his peers, especially at the institution.
The only thing I would add to that, August, is because I was reading in on the genealogy of morals, and he often uses the kind of term region as like a new unfounded region when he's talking about looking into these morals and investigating genealogy and going beyond good and evil. And so that to me seems like taking from another text and overposing it. It could be the questioning of our and reinterpretation of our current systems of valorization of morality.
Yeah,
Plus
I think
one.
that's a fair. I think that's a great way to take this. That region sort of is referring to some of these new worlds of thinking and understanding that they're, or new lands, as the case may be, I guess, if it's a new region, but exploring new territory.
The German here, Gegend, is very broad. You can use it in many different contexts.
I feel like there was a previous. There was one about like danger. Wasn't there one about like going off a path and getting lost? The Wanderer? No path, abysses, death is not so still. You wished it left the path by your own will. Now remain cool and clear, O stranger, for you are lost if you believe in danger. Hey, that. I wonder if that's the same word. Let's check. Gefahr? It is not, it seems. Caution. But definitely still parallel there. But I think generally we could interpret it more specifically as some of the work he's done beyond good and evil that went against his contemporaries, and we could maybe interpret it more generally as sort of like uncovering new grounds, new foundations, finding new things to think about, right? Exploring new concepts and new frameworks.
Yeah, the term, the use of the like giving it a spatiality is runs in line with not only the writings that was mentioned just like in Genealogy of Morals, but throughout this book, right? It's the bringing, like, using everyday life biologisms that we're familiar with to kind of bring the philosophy to life in some senses. There's all the talk of digestion. There's all the talk of walking and hiking and on traveling up and down landscapes. Just it feels continuous, like it fits in. It's like an area of the mind, an area of the passions, an area of thought, etc. Like that's kind of how you'd read it in German.
Great. Number 38. The pious retort. God loves us because we are made by him. Quote, but man made God, unquote, say the refined. Should he not love what he designed? Should he, because we made him, because he made him, now deny him? That interference limps, it has a cloven mind.
Der Fromme spricht. Gott liebt uns, weil uns erschuf. Der Mensch schuf Gott, sagt drauf, ja, ihr Feinen. Und soll nicht lieben, was schuf. Soll's gar, weil es schuf, verneinen. Das hinkt, das trägt des Teufels Huf. It's translated very well. Even like sentence structure and word placement is preserved pretty well while keeping it rhyming.
I guess it would be hard to tell about capitalization stuff for he, like how they often capitalize pronouns for God, because I guess, oh no, I guess you wouldn't capitalize pronouns in German, right? Just proper nouns?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only line that's significantly really changed is the last line. Das hinkt. It hinges. So, and it is implied here that it fails. So that inference limps is not an unfair rendition. It has a cloven mind. Das trägt des Teufels Huf. know if I would translate that way.
Interesting. Das hinkt. It looks like this may be a common phrase for it limps. Let me see.
So the last line in the original German, if you were to sort of like make a direct translation, it hinges upon that it carries the devil's hoof, like a horse that has the devil's hoof currently nailed to it. You know?
Got it. Okay, yeah. It looks like limp. At least when I'm looking up, it's hinken, which I think is another conjugation of hinked, at least from what I'm. But maybe not. It could be wrong as well.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Okay, yeah. It seems like limp is a common translation for that word in general.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay. No, yeah. 100%.
Okay, cool. I'm thinking through this. I'm getting so many flashbacks to the Latour reading. It's kind of a tangent for another time, but sort of this sort of questioning of like the way that we sort of understand like teleology and sort of like the way the modernist weaponizes fact versus fetish for certain ways as sort of like a means of like rendering an other or like a savage. But Recruiter asks, what is the devil's hoof?
I think it's a bunch of things. There is a plant, like in German, Teufelsruf there's a poisonous plant, and there's a bunch of other things. But like I think don't know if there's trying to see if there's a any like classic German great stories or anything where this comes up.
Because in just like a surface level way, you know, the devil's often depicted as like a goat man, right, with hooves.
Yes, +1.
I don't really know the etymology of cloven, but I wonder if cloven actually has any relation to that. Why that word was picked.
Yeah, there's like Etsy stores where you can get devil like hoof things throughout like Europe. I'm sure like Denmark and Norway with their I'll put Christ, what's the December pagan whatever Christmassy period dress up as a devil goat thing.
Cloven simply means split. Like if you think of a clover, it's a
Yeah.
plant with the leaves are split into 3 parts.
Yeah. No, I mean, I know that generally, but I'm curious about the specific like phrasing used here. like of a cloven mind.
Split mind.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Split. Yeah, clever. Yeah, okay.
The phrasing on this is a little bit confusing because it's using the same pronouns for both. Is it less confusing in the German, or is it about the same? Should he, because he made him, now deny him? I mean, it seems to be saying, should he, God, because he, the man, made him, now deny him?
Right, okay, yeah. No, I get it's a tiny bit clearer in German. So third line, und soll nicht lieben, was er schuf. So this is God as the person who'd be doing the loving.
Right.
Yeah, God is the one here that. Yeah. The second last line, now deny him. Soll's gar, weil es schuf, verneinen. It's still fundamentally about God. I don't think it's really about his followers here per se so much. Because the opening line as well is God loves us. So it's about God's relationship with us and the world that he has designed. By virtue of the fact that he made it, should he not love it? Yeah, the second last line in English is a bit so should he, because he made him, now deny him, is a bit different to how it's renditioned in German. Soll's gar, weil es schuf, verneinen. So soll's gar is kind of like the setup is like, so because of all of this kind of thing, es schuf, because he made it, deny it. So the like English of made him, deny him, like the doubling up of him is kind of inserted. Verneinen is just renunciation, denial. To take back, to negate. Like it doesn't say in German, oh, because he did it, should he then himself deny himself? It doesn't say that.
Okay.
So is there any way that that first he in that fourth line refers to the refined, or is it for sure relating to God then?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's about the refined. The first two lines of the setup is what the refined say as a contestation, as a counterpoint to someone to the lines we have hitherto been reading in many ways, right? So the last three lines are basically Nietzsche responding to the setup of the first two lines.
Yeah, so it sounds like,
So
is Nietzsche sort of questioning that we should love what we create? Like that, what man created, I guess? Am I reading
yeah,
that?
or at least,
Right.
I mean, it is implied, even in the German, that if you are of the refined who are invested in this, if you're going to be among the refined who make this retort, the pious retort, then you're probably like you are implicated within this whole setup. And if Nietzsche is right about the last three lines, you have a lot of thinking to do. Like, the refined are implicated in the setup that Nietzsche is offering as a retort to the pious retort. The refined are implicated insofar as this whole house of cards kind of like life denial, split mind as a his take criticism would apply to them just as much because they are followers of the god.
So the phrasing on this second line, should he, because he made him, now deny him? I don't know if this is referring to God making man or man making God. It doesn't follow for me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my suggestion here is in the original German, I see it as being more about God and himself in his relationship to himself and what he has created. But, of course, by extension, we're all involved, given the setup of the premise of the whole affair. Like, it's not like God directly speaks to us in these passages in any way. It is the refined who jump to God's defense in the face of Nietzsche or these sorts of writings, I suppose, right?
Hmm. It's a very, very tricky wording. And also tricky because of the wording being tricky. It's sort of hard to figure out sort of from what perspective it's being written, I guess. At least for me. Maybe it's easy for you guys.
Hi again. Doesn't the last sentence imply that it should be confusing? It should be both ways, whether he created or he was created by man. Then the fourth sentence, the one that you were talking about, is exactly why it's interference. It's not. It's in trouble. Both the relationship from both sides is in trouble.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think that's making more sense.
Yeah, +1.
Any questions before we move on? Okay, number 37. In the summer, in the sweat of our brow, we should eat our bread? Good doctors don't allow eating when in a sweat. The dog star twinkles now. Of what is this a sign? In the sweat of our brow, we should drink our wine.
Just off the bat, Dog Star here, Hundstern is Sirius. Star Sirius. 39
Right off
im
the
Sommer.
bat here, this is a direct biblical quote of Genesis, where Adam is cast out and the earth is Adam and Eve are cast out and the earth is cursed, and God says you have to till like work for your living in the sweat, and by the sweat of your brow you shall eat your bread.
Very interesting. Good to know. Thank you. I'm sure we'll get
Genesis
to that more.
3:19.
I'll pull that up. Go ahead, Rumpel, for the German.
39 im Sommer. Im Schweiße unseres Angesichts sollen unser Brot wir essen. Im Schweiße isst man lieber nichts, nach weiser Ärzte ermessen. Der Hundstern winkt, woran gebricht's? Was will sein feurig winken? Im Schweiße unseres Angesichts sollen unsere Wein wir trinken. That closing makes me, especially with the relation to Genesis, that Jake Kiwi, you just brought up, the ending of that sort of reminds me of, like, makes me think of, it's like a counter to this religious text to instead be ended with sort of a more jolly, sort of almost Dionysian kind of.
Yes, that's and that's also you could link that also to Ecclesiastes. But if you imagine, you have immediately after this, you have the great flood, and you have Noah, and the first thing Noah does when the floodwaters come down is he basically plants grapes, discovers wine, and gets drunk. So you can read a lot of sort of Bible references into this.
Yeah, that's a really interesting connection. Good doctors don't
It's
allow
funny
eating
because
when in a
this
sweat.
one contrasts to the, like, that section before is just about the value of creation.
Right.
Whatever the thing is that's created.
Yeah, man creating God and God creating man.
Yeah, but it's also like questioning skeptics, but it's also about, should you not love the thing that you've created? Like, there is an inherent value in creation, be it art or God or whatever it is that's created.
Or produce. Or the other thing that comes to mind here for me is the I don't know the period, like partly through the last millennia, where we had getting clean water wasn't that easy, and having a little bit of fermented stuff to drink daily when you're out in the fields would get you a little bit buzzed, which made it a bit easier to get through the crappy work, but also meant that you were drinking something that had a higher chance of having less crap that was, that the alcohol hadn't in part killed off. Like the idea of drinking your wine, the peasant that is allotted their daily take of wine, that you would actually begin drinking throughout the day rather than just at night or something, because it was like water, effectively. Very watered down wine, obviously, but yeah. Like drinking, enjoying the wine, even while doing the hard work itself, even not just as a spoil.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Enjoying the wine as you work.
Nietzsche just casually suggesting you should day drink.
Well, only if he's saying it's because the Dog Star is our series is twinkling, right? It's clearly a sign.
It's supposed to be the brightest star. What's the significance?
I don't know. Is it one that you can see during the daytime?
Probably around dusk. Mm.
Yeah, the only other thing I could bring up why because stars were kind of introduced in our last time we talked in aphorism or not or rhyme 30. It ends with how else could he become a star? And I remember at the time we were confused to kind of why is he jumping to start in the last line of 30? Um, and it's just kind of a reoccurrence of that theme of the star. And so I guess it's still bringing up that we had this question last week, and it's just something to kind of keep in the forefront of our minds of why he keeps bringing up stars.
Oh yeah. So Sirius is the assuming that's the right star, is the brightest star in the night sky and visible in daytime under clear conditions. So it's basically like, yeah, there's already stars out. Day drinking is okay now. At least that, sort of flippantly. That's how one could read it, I think. But, it's a star that's visible during the day. Very cheeky. Number 40. Without envy. His look is free of envy, hence you laud him. He does not notice whether you applaud him. He has the eagle's eye for what is far. He does not see you, he sees only stars.
Back to stars. Yeah.
Isn't it fascinating? He just like alludes to the previous again.
Probably so, and it gets an exclamation mark in the original German. It's Sterne, Sterne at the end.
What's the difference between a German exclamation point and an English exclamation point? Because we've seen that happen a couple of times.
I think my guess would be that it's Kaufman was probably like there's a style of more serious writing, and that usually has less exclamation marks. That would be my guess in terms of why some of them are omitted here. I don't know if you have more comments on that, Rumpel.
Not exclusively, but they're also used like to kind of give like as sayings or proclamations in the poetry so far. Sometimes the exclamation marks are either like closing line, like emphasis by
It's more
him,
declarative, right?
or they'll be like such and such is what the refined say kind of thing. Like the exclamation marks are used as a final pointer in a thing someone might proclaim or shout, or that he's kind of like critiquing or wanting to investigate. Um, Other than that, not the same. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that they were asking in terms of some of them being omitted. That's why I was sort of saying, I think there's a tendency in translation to to try to sort of have a sort of a serious academic tone, right? Whereas the way that it's written may be a little bit more. I mean, sure, there's definitely like maybe a more liberal usage in some contexts of exclamation marks, but
Yeah, I feel like a
making it
little bit
read
is
more
lost in that. Like they are strategically placed by him.
Mm-hmm. I think it can give
The
some sort
German
of
here.
like like bounce and sort of
Mm,
force
mm.
some of the phrases that makes them, sort of stick in a more interesting way.
Yeah, and in this one too, they relate to the question mark placed in the original in the first sentence. Ja, neidlos blickt colon, und ihr ehrt ihn drum. Just correctly translated, his look is free of envy, and precisely because of that fact, you laud him. But there's a question mark, like, really? Sort of the like questioning kind of setup of that first line, and the final lines exclamation marks. Sieht euch nicht. He doesn't even see you. Like, despite all of the laud you place upon him for his look apparently being free of envy, he doesn't even see you. You're nothing to him.
It sort of seems like he's maybe implying with the eagle's eye for what is far, the envy or the ambition or whatever, uh, you know, envy being a lot more strict, but sort of like a more general sense of um, his he has the eagle's eye for what is far.
He has a narrowed
It's
field
sort
of
of
view. Like his scope is, he's really zoned in on what he's interested. Like what, yeah, his gaze is hyper focused that he doesn't even see you. He just sees only the stars.
yeah, but I think it's interesting that it doesn't really seem to denote like a lack of envy, right? He's sort of he's seeing the stars, but he's not envious for the things around him.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's not sort of like a conscious like, you know,
Yeah, it's
trying to be chaste
a
or
value
whatever, right?
judgment. Yes, yeah.
He's just focused on different things.
Don't worry about the trivial things. He's aiming at a higher ideal, aspiring for something else.
Yeah. Number 41.
The only thing, I
Go
would
ahead.
maybe
Yeah.
add 40 with the terms eagle eye. Um, Again, this is reading in other Nietzsche works later in, but the kind of the eagle as kind of the master is used often, where the lamb's looking at the eagle, and it's like saying, "Oh, I'm good because I'm not an eagle doing that thing," but the eagle's eye is almost without moralization in this case.
Mm, mm.
I think that's a really good thing to add. I mean, obviously, we should be quite careful about how, I don't know, were the rhymes printed in the first edition? I think we looked at some of that stuff when we first started, but it's been a little bit.
I think so.
Okay. So yeah, uh, I think very good connection, but also uh, good to note that it's important to be careful about reading forward too much. I think it's an interesting sort of anticipation or connection, though. Number 41, Heracletian. Only fighting yields happiness on earth, and on battlefields, friendship has its birth. 1 in 3 are friends, brothers in distress, equals facing foe, free when facing death.
Herr Klitmus. Alles Glück auf Erden, Freunde gibt der Kampf. Ja, Freund zu werden, braucht es Pulverdampf. 1 in 3 sind Freunde, Bruder vor der Not, Gleiche vor dem Feinde, Freie vor dem Tod. I don't like this setup translation. Alles Glück auf Erden, all the luck, all the happiness, all the good in the world. Komma. Freunde, gibt der Kampf. Friends, come to the fight. Only fighting yields happiness on earth? I don't. It feels too causal. Too. Like, yes,
Is it
there
more
is the
like there's
direct.
joy, or there's joy in the fight?
Yeah, there's like a. It's just not that. It's not that direct. There is. It feels like only fight, like especially to say only fighting yields happiness on Earth. That I say this, being well aware of the whole reading ahead thing, but there are some really specific, but also incredibly consistent points about in Nietzsche about like freedom is nothing. It's no virtue. It's not a social contract. It is only and will always only be what you fight for, what you conquer. So I say this criticism of this translation note with bearing that in mind. Yeah, just makes it a bit too simplistic for me. Only fighting yields happiness on Earth. It's more like a setup that doesn't necessitate this kind of causal circular relationship. Alles Glück auf Erden, all the happiness in the world. Like, yes, we have to fight for it, but the like only fighting yields. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a bit picky about the English.
And in terms of German words, which words are being used for like battle and fighting? Let's see. I know sometimes those distinctions.
We have
can
Kampf
matter.
on line 2. Freunde, gibt der Kampf, like join the fight. Join in the struggle.
Yeah, but
Come
notably,
to arms, come together.
Kampf
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean like military. Like it doesn't
Correct.
necessarily
Correct.
like it can, but it
It can,
definitely
but it's not. Yeah. It doesn't say Freunde gibt Krieg. Krieg is
yeah, exactly.
war, is militarized warfare. Kampf is just a fight.
Yeah.
Like conflict in the more abstract sense.
Yeah, I've definitely. I mean, I've heard a certain German title definitely be translated more like struggle, right? Where it's more about the. Anyway.
There is allusion to like the Pulverdampf is like gunpowder smoke.
Yeah. But I think reading it more generally rather than specifically in terms of war, I think opens up
Battlefields is
what the
inserted, by the
gunpowder
way.
and smoke is about, I think, a lot more. Like it can definitely be
Mm.
militarily, and obviously Nietzsche fought in a war.
Yeah, but he could
I
have
also think
chosen the
even
word
just
Krieg and he didn't. And battlefields does not exist specifically in the original either. Like where the fighting takes place, it does not say battlefield at all in the original. It just says that you
yeah,
need gunpowder. Like to make these friends, you need gunpowder.
yeah, and that sort of implies like, or is it gunpowder or gunpowder smoke?
Oh, gunpowder smoke. The smoke of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
implying a gun, a cannon or
gunshot.
a gun has been fired. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so I think, I mean, you definitely could read this militarily, and I don't think it's necessarily wrong, but I think you could very easily also read this in terms of his own, or in terms of like intellectual struggle and battles and, you know, firing an essay. I mean, I think both readings would probably be applicable.
Yeah, and also think of the title, Heraclitean. Like my brain is like the same river twice. Like, are you really
Yeah.
the same soldier in the same army twice? If you like it just doesn't.
And also more of the
He
sort of
makes
like,
these very specific choices between like war and conflict in broader sense because he speaks about both. I would, if
yeah,
he was
I think
speaking about
struggle,
like organized warfare here, he would have picked very different words.
I think in that sense, like struggle, it's sort of struggle. Like if we're talking about like in a Heraclitus sense, at least, I'm not well read on Heraclitus, but in terms of like the sort of the fire that is everything, right? Where Heraclitus sort of saw, assuming I'm remembering correctly, saw sort of the fundamental element as fire, and that of sort of passion and change and struggle, right? I think that fits very well, where it's sort of the
Yeah.
battlefield of existence, right? Or the struggle of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Friends are 1 in 3. We didn't go over that line that much. Let's see. 1 in 3 are friends. Brothers in distress equals facing foe. Free when facing death. Is this just a 1 in 3 are friends? Is I don't love the phrasing on the translation on this sentence. Not that it's necessarily wrong, just that it's a weird way to word it.
Kluter has got a good question here, which is: are the last 3 lines the typology of the supposed friends? Question mark.
Yeah, the three that is being referred to. Brothers in
Mm.
distress equals facing foe, free when facing death. But I think it's 1 in 3 as in one who possesses 3, right? They're all 3 in 1, right? Is that
Yeah, I think that's fair because it's in the original. The colon is preserved. Eins in drei sind Freunde. Colon. Bruder vor der Not. Yeah, brothers in distress equals facing foes. Gleiche vor dem Feinde. Bei vor dem Tod.
because reading it as like the fraction 1 in 3 would be a bit strange. Like they're only they're only one of the 3. I think it definitely makes more sense to read it as they're sort of all 3 in 1. Yeah, point 33333 friend.
Quick tidbit just before I move on. I wanted to source that comment I made earlier about this same kind of thought being taken up again. The idea of the things that we want and that we want to sustain are only ever going to be the things we fight and conquer. The whole idea of like how freedom is measured in individuals or in nations. Twilight of the Idols Skirmishes 38 is a direct section about this sort of stuff. and then ties it back to where do you find the highest type of free human being? It is where the greatest resistance is constantly being overcome, 5 steps from tyranny, near the threshold of the danger of servitude. Yeah. Just wanted to source that one rather than chucking it out into the ether.
I was just looking through some of my recording stuff, and it looks like I may have. Let's see. The June 23rd. Oh, was that episode 2? I'll have to look through some of the stuff. I think hopefully we should have all the episodes, but it's possible we lost one of the recordings because I did not download it. But I'll go and take a look at some of that stuff later. I can cut this out of the recording. Let's do 1 or 2 more, and then we'll wrap up for today. And also, I don't know if we wanted to go over that that piece that I linked at all about digestion, but it may be a completely its own rabbit hole, so we don't have to. Or maybe
We offer it as
on their own time.
supplementary for the moment, just to kind of, I want to smash through the poetry and get into the first big aphorism.
Fair. 42. Principle of the overly refined. Rather on your toes, up high, than crawling on all fours. Rather through a keyhole spy, than through open doors.
Um, 42. Grundsatz der allzu feinen. Lieber auf den Zehen noch, lieber auf den Zehen noch, als auf allen Vieren, lieber durch ein Schlüsselloch, als durch offene Türen. It's a banger.
So is he just is there anything to add from the German, or is it pretty good?
I think it's pretty good.
It sounds like he's sort of just making fun of the sort of the rich and the overly socialized, whatever you want to call it, like the sort of the high society.
Yeah.
Rather through a keyhole spy.
Have their own
than
preferences. Yeah. Like there might be an open door, but they'll ignore it. They'll wait till it's closed and then spy through it, sort of thing. You know, there's good comment here. So from James, I take this to mean one who prefers discomfort and putting themselves at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's sort of making fun of this like sort of impractical way to live life of like spying through a keyhole rather than looking through an open door. Like the image in my mind, at least, is sort of that there's a door open, and yet sort of still through sort of the convention of sort of looking, being impolite, that one sort of is like hiding behind the open door, looking through the keyhole. Maybe that's reading too much into it, but sort of this idea of the overly refined being like someone who's sort of unable to contend with what's in front of them because they have these conventions and ideas of like what's dirty, like crawling on all fours.
Yeah, and also kind of what kind of a political society must be constituted for these preferences to flow in these ways amongst
Sure,
the
yeah.
overly refined, kind of beasts must they be for them to have to want to spy through keyholes rather than just walk through open doors and talk to each other, or to
Yeah.
or to be more direct in their needs, wants, or conflicts, or attestations, or yeah.
Right, yeah, I think it's a good way to wrap that up.
I would just maybe want to add, because the use of the word refined is interesting because it reminds me of what I believe Jay Kiwi said when we were going over the pious retort. When it was, he said, "But man made God," says the refined, where it's almost like the refined is rejecting God and is almost looking down on others who do, and instead of using kind of that idea and concept of God more artfully, and here it's almost like someone who's looking down on other people and is enlightened here and kind of not willing just to live, I think, in a way that makes more sense,
Yeah,
using what's
and
kind of already at their
live more
disposal.
immediately with one's surroundings, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, that's sort of why the original or the section we went over earlier was reminding me a lot of that Latour piece. It's called "Has Critique Run Out of Steam?" Very very lovely piece. Highly recommend. It's very approachable, as long as you read the whole thing. Don't read half of
You
it.
link.
I'll find it later. I'll link it at the end.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh yeah, don't read half of it because he makes many switches throughout the work. It's written in a very entertaining way in which he makes a lot of points and flips them on their head.
To the next one. I feel like admonition needs to be added. We can't stop.
Yeah.
Can't stop prior to admonition here.
Number 43, admonition. What you want is fame? Then note the price. All claim to honor must sacrifice.
Zuspruch. Auf Ruhm hast du den Sinn gericht. Dann acht der Lehre. Beiseiten leiste freie Versicht auf Ehre. Dann acht der Lehre, then note the price. Acht der Lehre is note the lesson. Not the word price. It's note the, like, it's gonna understand the fundamental point of this teaching. It's like almost like in a Confucian kind of rendition. It's not
Okay.
price.
Sorry. Yeah, price is a weird like word to use over here because also like the way it was translated into Farsi, it was translated as an advice. Like note this advice. So if you're looking, if what you want is fame, then take this advice from now that, okay, at some point you will have to sacrifice all this fame.
Yep. That's how I take it too.
I sort of read it as you have to sell your soul for fame. Like you lose honor. And that's the price.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty sensible way to read it.
There's a very popular German saying, particularly amongst women. Wer es schön sein will, muss schmerzen. Those who want to be beautiful must suffer. Which the last rendition, the ending of this, reminds me of that saying.
Okay. Yeah, it's also a saying in English as well. I forget the exact phrasing on the English version. Number 44. The thorough who get to the bottom of things. A seeker I? Oh, please be still. I'm merely heavy. Weigh many a pound. I fall, and I keep falling till, at last, I reach the ground.
41, der Gründliche. Ein Forscher ich. Oh, spart mir dies Wort. Ich bin nur schwer, so manche Pfund. Ich falle, falle immerfort und endlich auf den Grund. it's got a real visceralness in the original German. Like, oh, it's like almost like a falling, like an actual like I'm gonna fall and plummet until I hit, like the exclamation mark on the original German at the end as well.
Very funny wordplay, getting to the bottom of things by just being heavy. Very cheeky.
Yep.
Anyone have anything they want to add before we move on to this one, or from this one? I'm sure that there's more that we could analyze, but I think it's fine to go quick on some of them. Number 45. Forever. Quote, I came today because I feel that way. End quote. Thinks everyone who comes to stay forever. And he gives no weight to what the world may say. You're rather early. You are late.
Für immer. Heute komm ich, weil mir es heute frommt. Denkt jeder, der für immer kommt. Was ficht ihn an der Welt gerät? Du kommst zu früh, du kommst zu spät. Good.
This reminds me a bit of, I mean, quite a few things. But there was that poem that that Brooks made a video on the road less traveled that it's reminding me of. But also section 4 in Twilight of the Idols has a section on making sense of things through, you know, sort of through the self, through the ego. I think it's just a very nice phrasing, sort of breaking down the concept of the like free will, right? I come today because I feel that way. Sort of this claiming that happens of one's action, right? Like, oh, it couldn't have been sort of part of larger forces and patterns or smaller ones, right?
The other bow I'm drawing here is Nietzsche's posthumous ones. So, like the sort of existentialism of one's posthumousness.
Yeah.
So, Twilight of the Idols, Maxims 15. Posthumous human beings, like me, for instance, are not so well understood as timely ones, but they are listened to better. More precisely, we are never understood, and hence our authority. I know that's moving away from the kind of like the interpretation you were drawing there, but that's the jump. I agree with both. It's just I made the other connection too. Yeah.
So I think to read that sort of back into this, what the world is saying, you're rather early, you are late. Am I right in saying in thinking that this is sort of just like people shouting at him? It's not necessarily about, I mean, like, it's about timeliness, but also more about the reaction, right, than necessarily at least I'm not reading into it necessarily sort of the aphorism you were talking about of Nietzsche talking about his timeliness. I think this one has a more of a disregard of timeliness, right?
Well, it's like
Or of
not necessarily
right.
disregard. You're still being evaluated on your timeliness. It's either too early or too late. It's there is no sort of middle balance.
Well, he's sort of making jest at, and he gives no weight to
Sorry.
what the world might say. You're rather early,
Yes.
you're rather late. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Does anyone have any thoughts on line 3? Because my brain just can't. Maybe I'm just being dumb, but grammatically, I keep wanting to say thinks everyone who comes stays forever is how I want to read it, but it's thinks everyone who comes to stay forever. I guess maybe that line's just tripping me up, and I can't really read the poem either way without uh, kind of getting some idea of what that line means.
The word forever there is also inserted. It doesn't occur in the original, in the poem itself.
Which word is inserted?
Really?
Forever. It is inserted by Kaufman.
That's a big difference.
It's sorry. I do think it is a little bit maybe not translated well or explained. I don't know, but like if it was supposed to be guessing over here, of course, based on me reading Nietzsche before in a different language, that it should be actually because it was translated into Farsi directly from German by one of great German. Anyway, it was supposed to be something like uh, thus someone will say who always comes, like who always come from the future, this who always come, like who always is coming or becoming, if you take Deleuze's way, he would always say that. I don't know if you get what I mean or if I make any sense or not. I don't.
I think that makes sense. Might
What
need
is
to.
the German heading for this verse?
Für immer, forever.
In English,
And also
it's
just saw Recluder just called me out. It does actually occur forever. It's in
Yeah, I
line
was.
2. Yeah, it's the end of
Mm.
that. I missed that. I'm just looking at the wrong line.
Yeah,
Thank you
I
for
was
calling
double
that
checking
out.
that as well just now. It showed up on the Google Translate as well, so I was trying to check some of the words and stuff. Thank you, Recluder. But yeah, so um
Good comment from Astro Princess as well. It was odd. Thinks everyone who comes to stay, quote unquote, meaning those who come to stay think they do what they do because they feel so, then the world may say, quote, you are too early, you are too late. So what I'm getting here is something like, I don't know, like a Nirvana, come as you are type thing. I'm misreading this badly, etc., etc. No, I think you're teasing something out there.
I'm not really I'm not sure I'd read come as you are into it, but thinks everyone who comes to stay forever. I mean, you are right, Walshan, that it's an awkward phrasing. So this is the thought of the person who comes to stay, and as we've often talked about, staying and locationality is sort of used in Nietzsche a lot to talk about sort of ideas and concepts and domains of thought, right?
Yeah, I'd read this like the idea, like
Yeah.
that a thinker may come at a certain point of time, and they just have to come. And some people will say, "This person is ahead of their time. This person is behind the times. They're not with it." But they can only come at the time that they are.
But that way, it doesn't match, I think, how Nietzsche always phrase or how he thinks. Because Nietzsche doesn't think you come in the time that you're supposed to come. Nietzsche always thinks about that you're actually coming from the future in some sense. And yeah, so I don't think because he himself thinks of himself that he came in a different generation, that he came way before people can even comprehend or think about him. Yeah.
But even I think just to add what's to that Afnan, it's he does have that untimeliness too, but he talks about his untimeliness as something that has come. I think he even says in the preface to these rhymes, it's that it comes from the philosophical like race or like his kind of the upbringing that leads to who Nietzsche is, and his ability to kind of see in the future is still completely determined by the present, but more importantly the past. I would argue
Sorry
that he's
again.
not very untimely in this. That Nietzsche is maybe out of place in his time, but he's still completely of his time.
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I'm just saying that this is like I'm trying to think how Nietzsche would thinks over this exactly, because like even if you look at this first book of gay science, I don't want to get ahead of what you guys are at. If you do if you do think of the first book in total, it was meant for friends. It was meant for who are Nietzsche's friends from his perspective are those who have not yet to come, who are always in the future, who should like he's trying to meet those who haven't came yet, who are not
Yeah,
there.
writing for the future.
Exactly. So in that, especially this first book in gay science, because it's five, if I remember. So like he would even when the way he ends this book, he would write, I think, in figure 55, if I remember. He would like talk about this clearly and. Like even the opening, if you go back to it, you'll see that he's trying to paint a wall of happiness. And this wall is not meant for him. So I can't understand this paragraph as him talking that, oh, everyone comes in their right time. And I'm not saying that he is exactly time, he doesn't have time frame or something, but I don't think that's the way he thinks. Yeah.
I think
That makes sense. I'm
maybe
just
we need to
trying to
focus.
wrap my head.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, especially because of the lack of specificity. Like, what is an example of one who comes to stay? If we are thinking about it in terms of uh, concepts or paradigms or ways of thinking or the idea, what is one who who comes to stay forever? Is it sort of like a moment of
You'd have to think of it in terms of like a philosopher who, like Kant or Hegel, who is something that people like they had something to say at that time.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. That it's sort of about the timeliness of
What people had to
philosophy
say.
itself. Yeah, philosophy itself and sort of its contingentness and contextuality, perhaps. In a sense, it sort of seems like, because in that sense, you could sort of read it as him sort of saying, it's okay that, or it doesn't really matter that that he is sort of early. But yeah, I'm still struck. It's a very strange phrasing. Thinks everyone who comes to stay forever.
I think the becoming kind of point that Kaplan made early on is more accurate to the original than the idea of staying forever.
Okay.
It's denkt jeder, der für immer kommt. That is, who is always coming. I don't
Yeah,
really
exactly.
see the
Because
stay.
like
Yeah, the stay is the inserted word, if anything.
Ah, okay.
exactly. That's what I wanted to say since the start, but maybe I crumbled in explaining it. Like, because if you think of nature, he always praises actually finitude in some sense, like infiniteness, living, staying forever doesn't make much sense. and
Yeah, and
No, I
this
it's
is
think
also
become
after
that's spot on.
Heraclitus, just from a few lines above, which would run
Yeah.
counter to that whole premise.
Yeah, in that sense, today I'm coming because it's good for me today. That's the Google Translate, my bad. I come today because I feel that way. Hey, close enough. So if the word stay is inserted, then it's sort of this, and we think of it more in terms of becoming, then it's sort of, I think that makes way more sense within Nietzsche's thought in terms of process and becoming and yeah, very interesting. Okay. Remind me, Afnan, is that your preferred name? I forget.
yeah, you may call me Afnan, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's easier for you guys, although Yardeen is my usual I use, but yeah, it doesn't make a
Yardeen?
difference.
Okay.
I mean, Afnan is my actual name. I put both for whomever.
Okay. Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, Yardeen is actually from Heraclitus. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing his name well, because
fine enough.
yeah, sorry. It's actually the Hebrew word for river, and then with the Greeks, river, the famous statement, which is no one can get into the same river twice and stuff. And then it became Yardeen to Jordan, which is Palestine over now. So yeah, that's why it's Yardeen. Yeah,
that's a lovely history for a name. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, sorry. So I don't know why I said that. Sorry. You said, remind you on what?
Oh, I just that the comment was very very important because I think I'm glad we drilled in on this one because this word stay and even comes sort of implies like a destination, whereas it seems like it's more like you were saying in terms of becoming. And it's more like the I came today because I feel that way, or I'm this this almost reads even more like section 4 of what is the section in Twilight called again? Errors of philosophy, errors of the four great errors. It's like that's the name of the section, the four great errors. This sort of the ego taking claim over the becoming.
I mean, you mentioned something that going back to something that you guys discussed at the start, but I didn't want to intervene because it seems like I'm intervening a lot. But you talked exactly right now. It implies a distance. It implies as a distance in time. But you also talked about like a space. If I remember, you were talking that
spatiality, yeah,
spatiality and stuff. And if you remember Guattari's work, Guattari started it, and then Deleuze came along, and detertalization, I think would be translated, which is this. Like if you think of like in Deleuze's work, at some parts you would have the mode of thinking or the frame or figure would be a little bit linked to a geography, more of a geographical. And that's why when he talks about, for example, Greeks, on one of the reasons why, why Greeks had difference and had multiple multiple gods, and while, for example, the desert god, which is one god, you can relate this to the geography of the places for people who lived in Athena, for people who lived over there. So it is always linked to geography in some sense, and there's a great book about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much into Deleuze right now, but definitely, I mean, he draws on Nietzsche extremely heavily.
Yeah. Sorry, I know that exactly.
Yeah, I'm just going to end the recording real bit. We can chat for a bit about other stuff as well.
Okay, thanks.